In a hidden valley where the mountains touched the sky, there was a village called Silverstream. It was named for the crystal-clear river that flowed from a magical spring high on the mountainside. This spring was guarded by a gentle maiden named Elara, who was known as the keeper of the spring. Elara was an orphan raised by the village elders, and her heart was as pure as the water she protected. She had a special gift: she could sing to the water, and her melodies would make the wildflowers along the riverbanks bloom in vibrant colors and the crops in the fields grow strong and healthy. The villagers loved her, for her kindness was the true magic of Silverstream. Her small cottage was always filled with the scent of fresh herbs and the sound of her humming. She wove baskets from river reeds and gave them to anyone who needed one, asking for nothing in return. Her greatest joy was seeing her village thrive. One cold afternoon, a weary traveler stumbled into the valley, his cloak thin and torn. He was shivering, his face pale with cold. Without a second thought, Elara brought him to her cottage, shared her warm soup, and wrapped him in her coziest blanket. She sang a soft song to soothe his weariness, and a little of the spring's warmth seemed to flow into him. As the traveler regained his strength, his eyes glittered with a strange light. He was no simple traveler, but a scout for the dreaded sorcerer, Lord Vorlag, who lived in a frozen castle in the northern peaks. Vorlag's heart was made of ice, and he hated warmth and happiness. The scout returned to his master and told him of the magical spring and the maiden whose kindness fueled its power. Vorlag's jealousy grew into a cold rage. The next day, a shadow fell over Silverstream. Lord Vorlag appeared by the spring, his presence so cold that frost formed on the grass. With a wicked smile, he looked at Elara. "Kindness is a flaw," he sneered. "It makes the world weak." He raised his staff of black ice and cast a terrible curse. Elara's gentle hands, which had helped so many, became ice-cold. Anything she touched, a flower, a cup of water, a friendly hand, would instantly freeze solid. By day, she was a prisoner of her own touch. Only at midnight, for a single hour when the moon was at its highest, would the curse fade, allowing her to feel warmth again. Heartbroken, Elara had to live in isolation, watching her beloved village from afar. The spring's magic began to fade without her songs, and the fields grew barren. The only thing that gave her hope was a tiny, glowing firefly, a gift from the spirit of the spring, which stayed with her, its light a small comfort in her lonely world. A year passed. A young and determined prince named Liam, whose kingdom bordered the valley, noticed the creeping cold and the fading life of the land. He set out to find the cause and followed the dying river to its source. There, at the stroke of midnight, he saw a beautiful maiden sitting by the spring, weeping as she touched a single, unfrozen flower. He watched in amazement as, an hour later, she drew her hand back just as frost began to creep up its stem. Elara told him her story, and her sorrow and strength touched his heart. Liam had never met anyone so brave in their sadness. He vowed that he would not rest until he broke the curse. Vorlag, sensing this new hope, decided to crush it. He created a magical illusion, a beautiful ice sculpture of Elara, which he sent to the prince's castle. The sculpture could speak with Elara's voice, and it told Liam that the only way to break the curse was to bring the Heart of Winter, a magical ice jewel from Vorlag's own crown, and place it in the spring. Liam, desperate to help, was almost fooled. But as he rode back to the valley with the jewel, he remembered the real Elara's warmth, even in her sad story. The jewel felt only of cold and deceit. He realized it was a trap. The jewel would freeze the spring forever. He threw the Heart of Winter to the ground, where it shattered into 1,000 pieces. Furious at being tricked, Vorlag unleashed his full power. A magical blizzard descended on the valley, threatening to bury Silverstream in eternal snow. He appeared before them, vowing to freeze their hearts along with their land. In that moment of despair, Elara made a choice. She would not let fear win. She walked to the spring, and as Liam stood by her side, offering his own warmth and courage, she plunged her hands into the water. At first, the spring began to freeze. But then, Elara began to sing. Her song was not just a melody, it was filled with all the love she had for her village and the hope Liam had given her. Her pure heart, combined with Liam's courage, created a power greater than any cold. A brilliant, warm light erupted from the spring, melting the blizzard and striking Vorlag. With a final, shattering cry, The sorcerer and his icy magic were gone forever. The curse was broken. Warmth returned to Elara's hands, and the spring flowed brighter than ever. The village of Silverstream rejoiced with a great festival. Flowers bloomed instantly along the riverbanks, and the sun shone brightly. Elara and Liam were married beside the magical spring, its water shimmering with joy. Elara continued to be the keeper, but now her songs were not just for the crops and flowers, they were songs of love and the victory of a warm heart over the coldest darkness.